Far away from society, in a very secluded space, there's a group of guys hard at work and they are cooking something up. Little bit of League of Legends, let's put in some Fortnite and also a hint of Battlerite. Give it a good mix and it's alive, it's vivid, it's Supervive, or Supervive, I don't really know. And surprisingly, neither do the game developers. Not in the tutorial or any of their promo videos, they ever, for once, say the name of their own game. So that's where I come in, because I am now here to answer the question, is this game super? Is this game Vive? But most importantly, is yet another League BR worth playing? So let's find out by actually playing the tutorial. If you've been part of this channel for a bit, you know that I don't usually do that. But a friend of mine who already played one game before me heavily urged me to. And here's why. When we first load in, Lisa from tech support welcomes us not to Supervive, but actually, welcome to the Sky Realms. The Sky Realms, which kinda makes sense eventually, don't worry. And that isn't really the problem. The issue now lies in her going on a 10-minute tangent telling you that if you want to play the game, you actually have to
use WASD to move. Press the left mouse button to fire your weapon. Taking any damage while gliding will spike you downward.
Fight minions to gain experience. Stand on a base camp. Stand on a respawn beacon. Use oracles. Vaults contain powerful items. Hack them and destroy nearby security obelisks to break inside. Powers are equipable abilities to defeat a meteor beast to claim its soul.
And I gotta admit, I was more confused after the tutorial than I was before. So at this point, we made the strategic call to just jump right in. Oh, and because this game can only be played in duos or squads, and if any other video game ever taught us anything, you better do that with a pre-made. So here we are for future reference. I'm this dude. My job is to stand in the front and grab opponents, and my friend is this one, and his job then is to kill the just recently mentioned opponent. A already unreasonably strategic approach is instantly met by a rather not so strategic, let's just drop here, I guess, and we were off. And you know, I did pay attention because we're landing right on top one of these minion camps, because if you remember, Lisa clearly said,
fight minions to gain experience.
What she kind of failed to mention is that there will be a guy with a flamethrower who took massive offense in us actually doing what Lisa told us to do. And a little heads up about this guy taking 80% of my HP instantaneously, I would have been nice. I blame tech support. Then again, this is kind of the to be expected outcome. I did not expect it to last a whole 14 seconds before I was out. At least not in a video game. Kind of impressive. It turns out you do respawn on your ally though, but not if he also gets murdered before the timer is up. But even in the dire stuff moment, Lisa's there for us.
Not to worry. Locking in a new respawn point in a couple of seconds.
Turns out, for some reason, if you die, you don't actually lose the game. I'm not so sure what the point of that is in a battle royale, but we'll see. For now, I'm just happy that even for the most incompetent among us, the actions within the mortal realm have no real consequence for some reason, because we made up a rule that they don't. It's kind of like religion, really. I like that. And while I say that we murder someone in cold blood, probably believed in something else than I did. He deserved it, I'm sure. Something that's painfully obvious very quickly though. You do die awfully fast in this game, don't you? Even two guys that don't even know what their buttons do yet are able to one-shot a guy real quick. More importantly though,
vaults contain powerful items.
And we gotta get those, right? All of this is tied to a minigame that, well, given to the nature of the circumstances this current situation is in, or the people, this was kind of bound to be a disaster, of course. But if you do press the green thing often enough, you're getting powerful items, as someone recently mentioned. Important lesson in this one. Always listen to Lisa. It's a core mechanic of this game, I think. Most notably though, not only did we this time survive enemy encounters, but we also did one of these objective things, and we are still alive. And killing these neutral monsters without a flamethrower guy in your face makes this a bit easier too, I have to say. But yeah, the circle is ever so shrinking. We are ever so confused still, but ever so alive. But I think it's this kind of arrogance and hubris that then makes you
stand on a base camp to capture it.
So we stood on a base camp, and I think we captured it.
Base camp captured.
Oh yeah, thank you. What does this do? I don't really know, but I trust in Lisa here. And the game as a whole has also had a certain de-escalation happen. We've replaced the very eventful early few seconds with rather actually relaxing few minutes in the mid-game now. One might even say that you could finally play the actual game. And so we farmed some more monsters, exploration of course, and somehow also kept on running into people being all by themselves. 2v1 the game is a bit easier, I gotta say. We even killed what I assumed was some sort of boss, and he gently reminded me that, oh yeah,
Powers are equipable abilities that drop on death.
all this time I actually had even more buttons to press, if I would have been aware of it. But to be fair, the game in itself is already enough as is without those 2 buttons. So I think I'm fine for now. Thank you. What was way more worrying though, is seeing this here in-game equivalent of a mass grave, combined with the announcement that this is the
Final showdown.
and I not in the slightest have an idea how the fuck did we manage to get here, because this is the final 2v2 for winning the entire game. So here I am as confused as ever, just now realizing that I have unspent points for my inventory and my abilities. Also, we have finally figured out the best part of this game, the emote system. I think we are now as prepared as we could have ever been for the upcoming fight, which, don't get me wrong, means not at all. And merely seconds later, we were to find out how unprepared we really are. I do hit a hook and instantly waste my ultimate ability, very much on brand right now. I do grab ourselves another attempt at this, and this time a bit more successful, killing the first of the 2, and I'm starting to get this feeling no one really knows what's going on here right now. This could be good for us. What isn't good for one is picking up golden shards of a guy that you just killed, because that lets you level up an inventory piece, which gets you killed. Apparently. Did not know that. Then again, trying to figure that out in the final fight of your first game? Okay, a little bit of my bad maybe. But it also turns out death isn't really a concept in this game. So if you don't believe in it, it doesn't really exist, because I'm kinda back. Miss another hook, and I'm dead again. I get this feeling that I might be incredibly untalented for this one, especially considering that right after revival, there might be another one of those death incidents. But don't worry, it only exists in your mind, because I'm already back. Back for more death, but not for me, because I for once actually hit a hook, actually hit my ultimate, and wouldn't you know, properly using your skills, it kills people. Well, or it does this weird cinematic animation thing on a literal ball on the floor. But don't worry, in case you missed it, the game now actually tells you it's a W, and the game's name is Supervive. And clearly easy as fuck. So if you have any questions on how to win a game, I mean, I just clearly showed you how it's done. So you might want to ask someone else actually. Which exactly brings me to a little conundrum, let's say. What just happened? That's the conundrum. Or a puzzle of sorts. Sure, we just won the game, and I'm not even truly sure about that, to be honest. But sticking to the metaphor, this game has way too many puzzle pieces. And in any given second of the game, I had not the slightest clue of what was going on. And because of that, we made a decision. First and foremost, figure out the 50,000 mechanics going on during every game. Maybe learn a bit more, but most impactfully, we wanted to prove that this victory wasn't merely an accident, and we want to do it again. So we went right back in, our tried and true combo, and one thing we got confirmed relatively quickly, killing opponents in a 2v1 seems to be a thing here. Don't worry, we did find his friend eventually. We're not leaving anyone hanging here, but we definitely tried replicating the things we did last game, and some even with a higher success rate. Crazy how that works.
Enemy in base camp vision.
That was Lisa, of course, giving us a little hint on, well, kind of who to 2v1 next, because somehow other teams don't really like playing together, I think. This might also be where the earlier mentioned pre-made advantage comes in. I don't know, but I do know we were killing singular opponents quite often. Also, this is where you see who was actually playing the tutorial and who didn't, because, come on, you should know that.
Taking any damage while gliding will spike you downward above the abyss. This is fatal.
And it was, it turns out. I keep telling you guys, always listen to Lisa. Well, or alternatively, you fight 2 guys as 1 guy. I don't know why this keeps happening, to be honest. And at the time, we weren't even questioning it either. We were just happy that things kind of worked out for once. Then we eventually started to figure out how the gold and shop system works. Pretty much everything gives gold, and you then can buy everything for gold. It Still took us some time to figure that out. But I'm also happy to announce that we had our first 2v2. Well, in this game at least. But to be fair, who can really match up to reigning champs in this game? Let's be honest. And they somehow managed to not be able to. At some point, I even expected one of those singular guys to just be enough for us. You know, someone like that guy that literally just seconds after ran by, just like his teammate, who just, I don't know what that was, sliding by, I guess. Still no match for us, of course. And I don't know what it is about this place that we're at right now. People just love fighting us here. And people just love dying versus us here. I repeat, they love fighting us here. Love dying versus us here. And this time, it was actually 2 teams back to back within a few seconds. The fuck's happening? Within probably 2 minutes, we decimated the entire player base of this game. Just to give you a little context as to how incredibly good we are. And oh, look, there's more. So I just conveniently grab myself another kill here, do my stun move, and give you yet another context as to how incredibly talented we really are. Because I don't know if you know this, but
Above the abyss, this is fatal.
this also being the moment in time where I realized that automatic respawns can also be closed eventually. And this is also where it dawned on me that, you know, out of a 2-player team, I wasn't necessarily the one doing all the carrying, was I? Allowing me to sit back and see a 1v2 being pulled off successfully for once. And yeah, we're kinda used to this scene already, me being revived and all. And here's the best part, during all of this mess, we didn't even realize this was yet again the final 2v2. Still unsure how we made it to this situation twice in a row now. Good news, I'm still missing my abilities though, so don't worry about that. But me missing our only potential of playmaking, I'm starting to see a pattern here. And not being able to dictate the fight means we were pretty much just constantly running away. Also, we seem to be outmatched a little in terms of strength. Is it because they were better geared, better prepared, better players? Or is it because I didn't even realize that I had unspent points for my abilities? I'll leave this up for debate for someone else to figure out. All I know is that we both got caught in a 2v1 eventually, but apparently we were reviving. And arguably, second place is still better than expected. And the team stats with 19 kills especially, they're not too bad looking, I gotta say. But speaking from evidence, and especially how much those 2 guys beat us up real quick, maybe our first win was a bit of luck after all. But we have to further investigate. So we had to drop right back in. And the first lesson actually didn't have to wait for it too long. And you could even say it was arriving on schedule. The train does run you over. We now know that. That's a good thing, right? Progression. Yeah. The good news in the early game, you still do revive on your teammate. And a relaxing train ride allowed me to get a little bit more familiar with the items. It eluded me that the train might eventually actually drive into the zone. And I was startled so much by the fact that I accidentally grabbed my teammate back into the zone with me. And I think this play was a perfect metaphor for how our team dynamic worked so far. He's trying his best and I'm just dragging us down constantly. Almost poetic, really. So it was just fitting that me opening a fight with another missed hook results in us both getting killed. Good news again, we died this early, we get another one of these second tries. And we decided to productively use that one by angering one of these bosses. Why did we do that? I don't really know, because let's be honest, not a lot of thought goes into these decisions. It was just there. And after hitting it for 10 seconds and it not taking any damage, we finally realized that there is a second phase to it. It spreads out and you have to kill its outsides first to continue the boss fight, but wouldn't you know, doing that as a already behind team might have irreversible consequences. Good news again, we died again this early that we get even a third try. Don't know what to think of this mechanic in a battle royale still, even though I'm on the positive receiving end all the time. But don't you worry guys, we managed to also fuck this one up. And this time for good actually. But we jumped right back into 17th place, and this time there wasn't even a second chance, which made us finally realize that every match has a different one of these events happening here. And they are shown before you decide where to drop. The more you know. But that was a key moment that was the initiator for an almost rhythmic progression system for us. Drop back in, kill minions, kill enemies, open vault, third place. But we did learn that enemies always drop these golden shards on death, allowing you to always upgrade an item afterwards, which obviously makes early kills even more beneficial. Drop back in, actually get early kills, upgrade your item, 10th place. But you see, you actually get a choice when it comes to the items. They have different stats, you know? Drop back in, somehow land in the lava already taking damage. Great start. Upgrade the right item, 19th place. But we now figured out that the zone is actually connected to this night and day cycle. I don't really know why and how, but it is. So drop back in during the day, on top of 2 other teams actually, die before it even turns night, 20th place, which is dead last by the way. Yeah, there's no way, let's just go again, get dropped on by a team instantaneously, machine gun guy absolutely shreds both of us, 20th place again. And it was quite curious because the more we learned about the game, the worse we performed somehow. Starting from a victory as absolute newbies to probably the worst placements when we have pretty much figured out roughly all the mechanics. Unsure why and how that works, kind of like this game, but a certain fatigue started to set in. As the harder we tried, the worse it became. So we went for one last game. Go big or go home. So we dropped back in, got our first few camps killed without actually killing ourselves in the process. Open vaults. Killed enemies that tried to stop us from open vaults, but we didn't go big and ended up going home. But then something rather peculiar happened. Because we did agree on this being our last game, but being on the 4th hour of pressing this button over and over, I didn't really think much. Well, no news there, but it also only took a few seconds to get us back into another one. And after then figuring out that the only way of getting out of this game is by closing down the game in its entirety, well, there was no other choice. And wouldn't it be funny if the only wins we achieved are by accident on the first and by the accidental last game? Let's see.
You are the drop leader.
Lisa ecstatically told me, so I went and made the executive decision to go in hot and heavy. And it turns out no one else wanted to do that. So we had the starting area pretty much to ourselves. This brings 2 fundamental advantages. A, you don't have to fight for resources. B, not fighting means you can die. Now isn't that convenient? So not only were we able to level up and get our first few upgrades without any competition, it also greatly alleviates the pressure from opening vaults being surrounded by bad guys, assuming we somehow are the good guys in this scenario. But the effort of the past few hours showed because we actually remembered and started using the things we picked up. And it was this very moment where we realized that the scroll that teleports you into the new zone, it only works for one of the 2 teammates. Unsure why, but well, I am now at the top side of the map, already doing questionable things inside of the zone again, while my teammate is at the very bottom of the map doing whatever he's doing currently, probably not trying to get himself killed. But then I remembered.
Recall to your base camp by pressing the B key.
And so I pressed the B key. Not only bringing me to the base camp my teammate just captured, but also restoring the potential of this not being an absolute disaster of a game by having to run through all the other teams to just get to my guy again. And just like that, we actually already made it through half the squads. At least the game is easy, isn't it? But we definitely did not learn from our past mistakes, because angering this particular boss also angers the nearest opponents for some reason. Yet they have not put aside their habit of fighting us 1v2 for some reason. Turns out to still not be a viable strategy. How very strange. Also, kind of like this game. But the moment we spotted some other team, we knew it was time to finally enter this game for real. This is where you now trade the uneventful mid-game parts for very eventful endgame parts. And just like in any other battle royale, this is now a testament of how well prepared you come to this endgame. Or, well, in this particular game, how many of these 10,000 mechanics have you already figured out? And it does turn out, we already know how to get one shot really well. But there is one other thing that these last few hours taught us, especially reviving teammates in these crucial fights. And you might not believe, but we are actually using the game's mechanics to our advantage and place a base camp for us here, because you might remember
Owned base camps grant vision of the nearby area and heal you while you're close to them.
which might not be that unimportant in the final stages of the game, in which we now also tactically nuke our opponents, splitting them up, and allowed us to engage in a 2v1, strategy we are well familiar meanwhile, and from the looks of it, well versed in it too, leading us to another obviously well familiar scenario.
Final showdown.
And I gotta say, it was a bit awkward to find the opponents at first, but once we did, we had to make the random win come true. And it was go. Instantly launching at the opponent, hitting a hook, hitting my ultimate. I feel like I've seen this before. And I kinda did like the outcome the last time. But I can top hitting a button for once, because just as I was about to jump into certain death, I was reminded of a voice telling me,
Above the abyss, this is fatal.
and I instantly 360'd back to safety because, you know, I wanted to try something. And why not now? What if I actually hit a hook for once? And we 2v1 our opponent. And it turns out, beats randomly dying above the abyss after all. Okay, I'm still not quite sure what exactly is going on here. Might have to work on our camera here a little bit. But for the second time, it's a W. And we didn't even mean to do it. But to be fair, this perfectly describes this game. And to finally give you an answer, the game is obviously super, incredibly vibe, but should you play yet another League of Legends BR? All I can say for sure is that you just witnessed 4 hours of gameplay, and both of us still couldn't really tell what was going on. So if you liked the gameplay you've seen, or overall find the concept intriguing, by all means give this game a try, but be prepared to maybe bring a little of time with you. Or maybe we were just horribly incompetent. Who really knows? And the best part is I have just played a single character yet. So good thing the game actually gives me a new one. So I might just do the whole 4-hour ordeal again. But until then, I'm just glad that we finally figured out how to actually leave this game. See here. By God, we might have had to accidentally win another game instead.